Sitting down at a highly formal table setting can trigger an immediate sense of mild panic. 3 forks on the left, 2 spoons on the right, and an array of glassware. The primary feeling for most people is the sudden fear of making a mistake. That anxiety is a deeply ingrained biological response. Human brains are highly sensitive to any deviation from group routines. And historically, failing to fit in meant facing society's harshest punishment, social exclusion. But the intricate rules of dining are entirely artificial. They function as an invisible wall, constructed piece by piece over centuries, to take the communal act of eating and rigorously isolate the individual. Tracing the history of table manners exposes a system engineered to judge and stratify the people sitting across from us. In early human history, eating together was a straightforward matter of shared survival. The hunt was brought back to the fire, and food was distributed among the group out of pure necessity. By the time of the Roman cena, or dinner party, diners were still grabbing food from shared bowls with their bare hands, yet strict social protocols had begun to take hold. The host organized these gatherings in a dining room called a triclinium. The layout relied on 3 couches arranged around a central table. The exact placement of each guest meticulously mapped out their wealth, status, and favor with the host. Before stepping foot near those couches, guests performed strict hygiene rituals. They washed the street dirt from their hands and feet, and they carried their own personal napkins to wipe their fingers and pack up leftovers. Rome maintained the communal spirit of shared food, but their architectural approach to the dining room laid the early foundations for enforcing social hierarchy right at the table. As European societies expanded during the Middle Ages, the growing upper class searched for a physical way to distance themselves from the communal habits of the general public. In the 11th century, the Byzantine princess Maria Argyropolina arrived in Venice for her wedding feast. Instead of eating with her hands, she unpacked a case of small, golden, 2-pronged forks. The local clergy were outraged. They fiercely condemned the princess, declaring it an insult to God to replace the natural utensils he had provided, human fingers, with a metal tool. Despite the initial horror, the fork slowly gained traction across Europe over the next 800 years. It allowed a diner to spear a piece of meat without ever touching the communal serving dish or their neighbor. With the widespread adoption of the fork, that invisible wall around the diner was fully realized. The individual was now securely fenced off by a perimeter of personal cutlery. By the 17th century, table manners shifted from basic hygiene practices into overt displays of courtly ambition. Surviving at court meant mastering etiquette to impress the elite. King Louis XIV of France even mandated that all table knives be rounded off. He wanted to curb mealtime violence and stop the vulgar habit of guests picking their teat with dagger points. This lack of a sharp point meant diners could no longer spear their food. To adapt, Americans developed the zigzag eating style, cutting a piece of meat with the knife in the right hand, then switching the fork over to scoop it up, a habit that persists in the U.S. today. Fast forward to the 19th century Victorian era, and the rising bourgeoisie published countless etiquette books. They outlined intensely specific rules, like how to properly peel an apple using only a knife and fork to identify and exclude the lower classes. By the 19th century, the requirements for shared survival had been replaced by a heavily policed gatekeeping of social status. Over the 20th and 21st centuries, the rigid walls of the formal dining room finally began to crack. The explosion of fast food and the industrialization of convenience meals forced a relaxation of the rules. For the first time in hundreds of years, it became entirely acceptable to eat a complete meal with our bare hands. The cultural focus has shifted away from achieving Victorian perfection. Today, a successful dinner party prioritizes conviviality, where accommodating a guest's medical diet or peanut allergy is the true mark of an excellent host. Society has cycled through the communal necessity of the ancients and the rigid barriers of the Victorians, arriving at a point where the invisible wall is dissolving to prioritize the shared experience of the meal. Modern etiquette serves the comfort of the group, prioritizing a guest's sense of belonging over their mastery of the silver.